As adults, we start to realize that in this world, sometimes we have to give up on dreams and give up on the parts of us that we start to outgrow. I think what amazes me most about the two of you is that you didn't have to do that. You didn't give up and you didn't move on. They have a love that is unscripted, it is raw, it is unadjusted, and most importantly, it is real.
I wrote a poem. What was I before I was in love? I imagine I was a boy of some sort, 2 nearsighted eyes and 1 pointy ear, ungainly and unaware in my youth. But did I know love before I was in love? Of course. I love loads of things. Music and movies and Legos and books. But remember that part about being unaware in my youth? No. I must have been a book on a shelf. My heart, that is, the rest of me being boy. Waiting unopened until you discovered it in March 2003. In a flash, you plucked my heart book off the shelf, stroked my spine, and I shivered as you began to read. You cradle me in your hands, and your gaze traces my words with such softness that I melt, and my ink runs all over my face. But through the blur, I can still see you, and I know I am home. This heart book is about you. It always has been, ever since the first chapter, or even the prologue if you believe in fate. And each time you turn the page, another is added to the end of the volume. And the volume gets louder the further you read. It shouts your name in exaltation. Oh, how cosmically vast the chance that I would collide with another being whose temperament is so complementary to my own, whose dreams and hopes and desires align like Jupiter and Mars and Venus, whose companionship always adds, never detracts from my enjoyment of life. In fact, I think it was no chance at all. Never stop reading me. I may run out of words. I may have to learn a new language just to keep up, but I will never stop writing out my heart book for you, promising to speak to you and of you only in kindness, to support you always and never hinder your aspirations, to listen and counsel or even say nothing at all, to love you above all else, and to hold your hand in times of darkness. And whatever we were before we loved is nothing compared to what we can become if you let me write a heart book with you.
I knew you would outdo me.
It's not a contest.
Yeah.
Salute.
Salute you.
No one witnessed the moment when we first met, and so no one saw the spark that ignited between us as we passed one another. But I know that everyone here has seen it since. It has grown from a spark into a flame, and is now a fire that burns deep and bright in our hearts. It is a fire that will sustain us and keep us warm in one another's love all our lives. You are my best friend and second self, and I adore you. I vow to encourage and support you in your passions and pursuits, to care for you always, to admit when you're right and tell you when you're wrong, to snuggle you every day, and to love you with all my heart.
But I believe they have been in love and destined for one another since they first met at Austin Prep over 12 years ago. They were in the parking lot saying their goodbyes to one another after a hot coffee house production, and I was taken by the way Gary was looking at Stanis. To this day, I catch Gary looking at her that way, and I see Stanis gazing back at him with that same love and thoughtfulness. It's a thing of beauty, and it warms my heart.
With love and commitment, Stanis and Gary have chosen one another from this day forward. If you know their story, you know that Stanis and Gary's love is absolutely and profoundly serendipitous. If you have witnessed it, you know that a love like Stanis and Gary's is rare and unique.
I did not understand all those years ago what the connection between us meant, but I know now that it was true love, and I look forward to a long life of love and adventures as your wife.